Hey everybody, big friendly Gen X memories bringing you another video. In this one we're going to be talking about pinball for the 2600. We'll be looking at three different titles: Video Pinball by Atari, Bumper Bash by Spectravision, and finally Midnight Magic, Atari's second pinball game released in 1986. So let's go ahead and get into this thing, play some pinball, and go over the games. Okay, Video Pinball by Atari, released in 1981, the year the Atari exploded because they also released Space Invaders and I think also Asteroids. Now, I never owned this game when I was a kid, but there were two brothers that lived up the road from me, named Ricky and Randy, and they had it. They had Atari and they had this game. Dadgummit. But anyway, sometimes in the summer I might wind up hanging out at their house. Their mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she was there, and we would often watch game shows, maybe in the morning time. Price is Right, and we really loved Press Your Luck. I'm sure many of y'all remember that one if you're as old as I am. But we would also play Atari a good bit. But anyway, just looking at this game, it doesn't look like there's really anything special here. But it really is a lot better than it looks. Now, one of the things I love about this game, which I suck at, it seems like I was better when I was younger, I don't know. But I love how you can manipulate the ball, by holding down the fire button and just tapping on the joystick. Of course, you have to be careful because if you get too greedy with it, it'll tilt and your flippers won't work and the ball will go out of play. And of course, you don't get any points for anything it hits on the way down either. But I've never played pinball that much when I was a kid. By the time I got to be around 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, arcades, it seemed like they were all over the place, and video game cabinets were all over the place. I mean, they were just everywhere. And you had games like Space Invaders and Asteroids and Galaxian and Galaga and Donkey Kong. I mean, I was just all into that stuff. That's I wanted to play those kind of games. Not saying I never put a quarter in a pinball machine. I would do it every once in a while, but it just wasn't my main thing. And did y'all ever try to maneuver the ball or wiggle the cabinet, the table if you ever played? Like I say, I never did, but I remember when I was a kid, we had a skating rink where I grew up in the town of Montgomery, Alabama, called Looney's. And at Looney's, we would often do birthday parties and stuff that we would, either it was your party or you go to somebody else's party, roller skate, and they had video games and pinball machines. In fact, I think that was the first place I ever saw Galaga getting played years ago. But anyway, I remember I would watch some of the older kids playing pinball, like maybe the high schoolers, and a lot of them would always try to wiggle the machine, and it didn't seem like it ever friggin' worked. They would, it would tilt it, and they would lose their ball, and they would, curse the machine out, and they would be pissed off because they feel like they got ripped off, and I never understood why they tried to do it so much, but that's what I remember when I was a kid. Now, as far as scoring points on this game, the real key is to see those three diamonds at the top of the screen. If you can knock all those out, which is harder than it looks, see all the ones, and the bumpers are the ones with the solid color around them, the purple. If you can knock it all out, well, those will change. It'll change to a 2, and you'll get 200 points per hit, then 3, and then 4, so on. So really, that's the big secret to really trying to get a bigger score in this game. Anytime it hits a little spinners, you get a point. Per every second it's like touching it. That thing that just popped up down there, it only stays there for a few seconds. See, it disappeared. If you can hit that, it's 1,000 points every time you hit it. Now, you only get 3 balls. So I think in the arcade pinball games, you usually got 5, I believe. But anyway, the other slot on the upper right that has the Atari logo on it, if you can get you can get the ball to go through that slot 4 times, you get a free ball. But you can only get 1 per turn, I think, and I don't think you can get, you can't just stack them up. So, but I mean, obviously it comes in really handy if you can pull it off. Now, that thing right there, that every time it goes through there, the number will go up. Now, once you lose your ball, you'll get a bonus for every 1,000 points, but I think it maxes at 4,000. So even if you have like 8, you know, it doesn't give you 8,000. It kind of sucks. Seems like a ripoff. Thanks a lot, Bob. Big Bob Smith made this game back before he went to imagic. You see, I'm trying to manipulate the ball through the through that thing, that slot. Now, if you're playing 2 players, this thing didn't have a lot of variations. There's only really 2. I mean, it says 4 because 2 of them are for 2 players. But yeah, really kicking ass. The difference is that how do I say this? The bumper bonus, it stays the same. It never goes away. So if you've got the bumpers at 3, it stays at 3 even after you lose your ball. On the other variation, it resets it back to 1. So that obviously makes it a lot harder to score a lot of points. Boom. See, now I got 2. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And another thing you can do, if you're playing 2 players and you just want to make the game a little harder and speed things up, if you flip the difficulty switch from B to A, it will open up 2 additional slots down there to the right and to the left of the flipper, so it's easier for the ball to go down in there. So y'all let me know in the comments, did you ever have video pinball for your Atari 2600? Or did you ever have a chance to play it maybe at a friend's house or something? Let me know. I want to hear from y'all. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the second game. It's called Bumper Bash. Okay, I had never played Bumper Bash before I did this video. Obviously it looks better than video pinball, and one thing I really like, see how you can cradle the ball like I did there? To me, that was always one of the funnest things about pinballs, whenever you could cradle the ball, then let it just roll down and kind of aim your shot. Now, I'm gonna say this though, and this is gonna be something we're gonna see in this game and in the next one, is that the dadgum flippers are just so friggin' small. I mean, they really are. Now, since you can, like I say, you can cradle the ball, it's not as bad on Bumper Bash. Also, this is just a 4K game, so it actually looks pretty good. I was never able to fill up. You can clear out those slots up top. You get letters and you get bonuses and stuff. I was never able to do that. It seems like it was really hard to keep the ball up there. And plus, I would also lose in this game. I would lose balls out the sides and everything. And it's not a bad game, And plus, on this one, you get 5 balls instead of just the 3. The thing about this game, and I actually bought a copy of Video Pinball and Midnight Magic, which is the next one we're going to look at, because they weren't that expensive. But this one is a different story altogether, and we'll go over that more later. But the sounds are better. I wouldn't say, honestly, I don't feel like the physics are really that much different. I mean, the ball looks more round, it's not a square like it is in video. See, like that happens a lot, it seems like. This one has that's the end of the game. It looks like a little TIE fighter right above the 4. I don't know, what do you call those things where it's like a little thing that flips around when the ball goes through there, and you get points, and it can, you can get more as the game goes. But that's the coolest thing about this game, is that you can cradle the ball. I mean, you can't do that on Video Pinball, and you can on this. That's pretty cool. I'm going to tell y'all about the guy who made this game also. I'd never, usually whenever I'm studying for these videos, I'll do some research into the background, who the programmers were, and whatnot. And this is the first time I'd come across this fella. Okay, I think y'all seen enough here. Unless you want to spend a lot of money, you're never going to own this, or unless you just want to play it on emulation like I'm doing. But it's not bad. I mean, it's really not. All right, let's go ahead and check out Bumper Bash. Okay, now it's a strange thing here. Midnight Magic says 1984 on there, but on the back of the box it's 1986, I believe. Anyway, it was a late release, and I mean, obviously on the surface it's hands down the best looking game of all three of them. Of course, it's a 16K game, which is not very common. You don't see. I think there's only a handful of Atari games that ever had that much ROM. But this obviously looks and sounds better than the other two pinball games. Now, the targets at top, if you can knock all those out, you can get more points and everything. The biggest thing about this thing is, just like I said before, the flippers. The flippers are so narrow. I mean, it's so hard to keep the ball in play. It does have the extra flippers up top, which are pretty cool if you can get it. It does make it easier to hit the targets from there, but you cannot cradle the ball in this game like you could on Bumper Bash, which sucks. Like I said before, to me that's one of the funnest things, but it would just roll over to see like that. It's just frustrating. Very, very frustrating. Maybe I'm just too, I don't know, maybe I'm just too picky, but that's just something that really kind of sucks. Don't y'all think? I mean, dang, I'd love to hold the ball there and just kind of time your shot and knock it, zap it through. It took me a while. I played this for quite some time. It took me a while just to break 20,000 points. And I've never been able to clear all the targets either. I'd always lose my ball before I could do it, and it resets them. The little spinner, it looks real nice, doesn't it? Good sound effects and everything. They actually I think they had a commercial for this game. If I can dig it up, if I'm right, I'll show it to y'all in a little while. But by the time this thing came out, I don't think it was. I think you could get it for like, see, my game's already over. You could get it for like $12, $13, something like that. But heck, by the time 1986, 87 came around, it's really sad to say, but I mean, the NES was the NES was limited, had the limited release in late '85, and by the time '86, '87 come around, that's the only thing that folks were talking about. It was almost like, I mean, hey, it may sound bad, but it's almost like the Atari never existed. I mean, it just disappeared. It was an afterthought. Everybody was on to the next best thing. You also get the 5 balls in this game too, like you do on Bumper Bash. And this thing is not rare. Like I said, I bought a copy of this too. It's not too hard to find, and if you want to get a copy for your collection off eBay, it's not a big deal. Wait till I show y'all Bumper Bash though. Y'all gonna be like, holy smokes. If any of y'all ever played this before by chance, let me know in the comments. I had never played it until I started studying for this video. I mentioned the 16 kilobytes of ROM for this game. There were actually more than I thought. There's some other titles that actually had 16K. It came out toward the later part of the 2600's life. Roadrunner, Dig Dug, Crystal Castles, Real Sports Boxing, Super Football, Super Baseball, Dark Chambers, Millipede, Junior Pac-Man, Track and Field, Solaris, Crossbow, and Sprint Master. There may be some others, but more than I thought. Crossbow. Remember that in the arcade? You dropped your bunny in, it made that. Alright, I think we've seen enough here. This game looks great, sounds great, but I swear it's frustratingly difficult because of that huge gash between those itty bitty flippers. And you can't hold your ball in place. Anyway, I want to show y'all some other stuff and talk about at least one of the designers of one of these games. All right.
The fun is back, oh yes siree. It's the 2600 from Atari. It's the video system with classics galore, from Space Invaders to cars that roar. A real hip joystick controls the screen. Solaris is hot and Midnight Magic's mean. And one more thing, it's got a special low price, under 50 bucks. 50 bucks? Now isn't that nice? The fun is back, oh yes siree. It's the 2600 from Atari.
Alright, I found some really cool stuff and some old papers I wanted to show y'all. Now this is a paper out of Memphis, Tennessee. It's actually on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1981. What were they selling the Atari games for? This service merchandise. I'm sure y'all remember that one. Who didn't go through the big thick catalog with all the color pictures and look at the toys and everything? I know I did. My Aunt Gladys always had a service merchandise catalog at her house, and I would just look at that thing and wish for Christmas to hurry up and get there. But it doesn't have the exact price. It says $17.97 to $23.97, and I guess it just depends on which game you get, but there it is right there. Of course, the Asteroids is $25. That was the first AK game. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong. I believe it was AK ROM game that Atari had. Should have done it with Pac-Man. One thing about service merchandise, my mom, she kind of hated that store. She hated the way that you got your stuff. You know, you would take the little ticket and then go give it to them and pay. And then you had to wait, you know, and then eventually it would come down the conveyor belt and you would get it, but it's like you had to wait. She just hated the way they did things there. But I remember that store very well. All right, now, I had read on Atari Age that Bumper Bash is rare and it was thought to be sold in Canada a lot. So I even found a paper in British Columbia. This is August 7th of 1983, and they've got Spectravision games, but no Bumper Bash. In fact, I wasn't able to find it anywhere. I was not. I mean, we know it had to exist a few copies had to exist, but I couldn't find it advertised in any newspapers. Let's kick on to the next one. Okay, this is November 2nd, 1983. This is a paper out of Lansing, Michigan. I'm gonna blow this up some because there's something I want y'all to see. It's pretty cool. Hope y'all can see this. Circus World Toy and Video Center. 50,000 video cartridges must be sold by Saturday. Man. Okay, now what I want to show y'all. Now this is in '83 November, so you can already see how cheap everything has gotten. What was it? Let's see. Okay, here it is. Yeah, on the U.S. Games. You know, they were one of the first ones to go bankrupt. You know, after Data Age and Games by Paula. Yeah, and check this out. There's two games, one called Picnic and one called Entombed, and I don't think those ever came out. Y'all remember those? I sure don't. Unless there's prototypes or something, y'all let me know, because I don't think they ever came out, but I thought that was pretty neat. But let's go down. Spectravision, again, you got the usual suspects here, but no Bumper Bash. Okay, December 20th, 1987. Now, Fred Meyer, isn't that like a Big Lots type store? I think it is. But anyway, here you go. You got the Atari 2600 for less than $50, $44.97. Now, let's see. There's the games. There's Midnight Magic for about 12 bucks. So it was out there. I just don't see many people playing it. I mean, unless you're a poor, but you're going to see something here in a second that I totally didn't get. It was crazy. Okay, this is a paper out of White Plains, New York, November 28, 1985. Now, the Nintendo came out in late 85. One of my friends across the way, Jimmy, their family got one, and that was the first time I ever played with it, and it was $137. Now, he got the one with the Rob. I think they all came that way to start with, and I remember though distinctly, we were playing with it, and it came. I can't remember the name of the game, but the Rob would grab the little disc and move it, and it was so slow. Eventually, Jimmy would just reach over and slap the thing, so it's just to speed it up. Rob never really worked out with him on that. But as you can see, when it was new, $137. Okay, this next one. This is Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg Times, November 20th, 1986. So this would have been a year later. Okay, everybody remembers Kmart. I remember that was the store that I first played the game Adventure on the 2600. Probably would have been in the first half of '82. Me and my friend Jim were there at Kmart. My mom was shopping, and we were just playing with the Atari, and they had Adventure, and we both freaked out. And he got the game quick, and I ended up just going to play his Adventure game at his house with him. Okay, there's the Nintendo. It's still $134. So not much has changed really in a year. Still got the ROM and all that. Okay, now, last one, December 6, 1987. Okay, this is not a big ad. Lowell Jewelers and Distributors, but look, $80. Now, of course, this is the one that we all know, and I don't even see the light gun, so maybe it doesn't come with it. But the Nintendo with the 2 get pads and Super Mario Brothers for $80. I was like, man, I don't remember being that cheap. Is that wrong? I may have to look into that again, because I just don't remember it being that cheap. I mean, because that's like, if you could spend $50 on an Atari, even if you were, in the poorhouse, you could squeeze another $30 to get the Nintendo for your kids. So I don't know. I may have to look into that more. It just doesn't seem right to me. But I wanted to share all that. I just love the history of this stuff. Okay, let's do a quick check into the background of these games. Now, Video Pinball, it's a 1 on the rarity scale. So it's as common as Pac-Man is. It's not expensive. I got me a boxed copy off of eBay. I didn't spend that much money for it. Glad to have it. Now, what I wanted to say though is that Bob Smith programmed this game. Now, Bob he was one of the fellas that went to Imagic when they first started, and he did several games for Imagic. Now, I did a video about Bob. Well, not about Bob. What about Bob? I did a video about Riddle of the Sphinx a while back, and I just went ahead and talked about Bob while I was in there, because he passed away in like May of 2023. And I wish I could have met him at a convention. He did a lot of conventions. So if you want to see anything about him, just get on YouTube, because he really, did go and talked about, the whole history, why he left Atari. It was just basically for the same reason that Crane and all them left before. He was just tired of being, taken advantage of, and Atari not giving him credit. But this is a picture of him getting I'm assuming this has something to do with Riddle of the Sphinx, at a convention. This is actually on Atari Age. And here's a photograph of Bob in his younger years. This is in the early 80s when he worked for Imagic. But when you look at him talking on the panels and everything, he just seems like such a nice man. Really wish I could have met him and shook his hand and thanked him for all the cool stuff he did. Now, Midnight Magic, this fella, Glenn Axworthy, according to Atari Age, that's the only game he made. I couldn't really find anything on Glenn, if he did anything later on in the gaming industry. So if any of y'all know, chime in on the comments. But the other game, Bumper Bash, now this one is the one that's so rare that I couldn't find. You see, it's a rarity of 9 out of 10, so it's next to impossible to find. And see, it says here, a pinball game. This one seems to have been sold predominantly in Canada, as were some of the other Spectravision games. And so, you know, I couldn't find anything on it. But the box, well, it says, we still do not have a box scan to determine if it is in French, English, or just English. They didn't update that, but they did get a box finally at some point. And here it is, and on the back of the box it says bilingual instruction included. So it does come in French and English. So I guess it was available up in Canada somewhere. Now, the programmer of Bumper Bash, David Lubar, he was very busy. He did a lot of games. I mean, he was all over the place. Spectravision, 20th Century Fox, Activision, River Raid 2, and 20th Century Fox. And he also did Sentinel for the Atari. So he did a lot. Now, he was actually a writer. His passion was writing, and he ended up coding games just because it paid, you know, in his younger years. Now I want to show you a small clip of him. It's from a good number of years ago, maybe I think it's from 14 years ago, and he talks about why he ended up programming games. And I won't play the whole thing. If you want to watch it, it's easy to find. You can check it out. But I want to play all this clip, so let's watch it real quick. Okay, this was uploaded actually 14 years ago, so this is pretty old.
I became a writer for many reasons, one of which is that I loved philosophy and studied it, and once you leave college and open the want ads, you find there's a glaring omission in the P's between photographer, plumber, and pizza chef. Nobody is hiring philosophers. So having been in love with reading and enjoying writing all through college and earlier, I decided I would sit down and make my living as a writer. I managed to do the sit-down part. The living part turned out to be a little harder, but as I was just beginning to get established, I got lured away to the video game industry and spent many years designing and programming video games, including Home Alone for the Game Boy and Frogger 2 for the Game Boy. But in my heart, I always wanted to write again, and I kept writing. But in 1994, I made the decision to stop programming games and get back to books, because books don't have bugs. Books don't freeze and hang. Books are eternal. If you look for one of my games that is 5 years old, you won't find it anywhere other than a flea market. If you look for one of my books that is 10 years old, it will be on the shelves. And that's one of the many reasons that I prefer writing books.
Okay, I wanted to show y'all Bumper Bash, the price. I told you, of course, you've seen how rare it is. Now, currently on eBay, there's only one copy for sale. It's a loose copy in Australia for $129, and that's it. That's all there is. But if we go over to the finished ones, you got 2 complete copies. One of them sold for $500, and the other one sold for $400. So I'm kind of surprised, honestly, that it didn't sell for a little higher than that. Maybe it's because it's a more unknown game. I mean, something like, say, Swordquist Waterworld or Chase the Chuck Wagon, I think those would have sold for more money, and I don't think they're quite as rare. But anyway, I just wanted to show y'all that. Hey, if y'all made it to the end, I know it was a long one. I appreciate y'all watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and share it with your buddies. I appreciate it, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks. Bye-bye.